All right, my retards, what's happening? So, it's finally here, it's finally happening. What do I mean by that? Well, the full bore, full system, real world stress test of the new recording rig setup. Full real world live location recording test of this system. Okay? Balls out, no holds barred. So, what do we have here? Well, let's go input to output, shall we? Okay. We have a pair of Octava MK0-12 small diaphragm condensers positioned roughly equivalently to the speakers. Okay. And we have, look at all those LEDs blinking away. And we have, look at all this, lots of LEDs. LEDs means on. Okay. So, what we're doing is, we are recording 24 channels into ProTools on the laptop, right? Now, you may have noticed that there's only 2 mics instead of 24. Okay, allow me to elaborate. Right, you know. Okay, come here. Dante controller. Aha, here we are. See that kind of stepped or ladder setup? So what I've done is I have plugged in a pair of mics, 2 mics, into 2 of the mic amps. So the AD converters are only actually converting 2 mic signals, but the Tascam Dante interface, the Dante chipset as such, is sending out 24 channels. I have multed or split or whatever you want to call it, those 2 inputs out 24, in fact I think 26 times. Yeah, 26 times. So as far as the network is concerned, as far as the Dante chipsets are concerned, as far as the network switch is concerned, this is 26 channels, 26 audio flows being sent from the converters over the network across the switch into the Order Me. It's taking in 26 channels. The fact that there's only 2 actual mics plugged into 2 actual mic amps is completely irrelevant to this hardware. As far as it all knows, once the analog is turned into ones and zeros, 2 becomes 26, right? So this is a real world stress test of the Dante network and all related hardware. So, now, okay, these are the 7 monitor outputs from the computer, from ProTools, out across the Dante network into these 7 monitoring devices, meaning the ESI, which I'm using for CRM, control room monitor, right? Speakers and or headphones. It's getting a stereo mix. And the 6 Glen Sound Virtual headphone amps, each getting their own stereo headphone mix. They're all being sent, even though I don't have a headphone plugged into any of them, they are still receiving those Dante flows at all times. All right? The ones and zeros are being converted to analog and sent into the headphone amplifiers, whether or not I plug in a pair of headphones. So they are up and running and live on the Dante network happening. I can plug my cans into any of these at any time and Boom, there's live audio. Okay, so let's look at Pro Tools. What are we doing there? Okay, so there's your 24 audio tracks. Yep, because they're duplicates, left and right, left and right, left and right, left and right. Okay. Mixer window. Boom. Here we go. Okay, so focus, you fuck. Main mix, Mon 1, Mon 2, Mon 3, Mon 4, Mon 5, Mon 6. Those are the outputs for each of those 7 output devices. Okay, let's scroll left a little. Okay. Okay. Scrolling left on the mix window. Now, some of you may have noticed something, which is that, Jesus, Rich, there's a lot of channels there. You know, seems like there's a lot more channels than necessary. Here are your 24 recording tracks, right? With not much going on them. You know, no plugins, pretty much no sends, nothing. And then as we scroll right, we get channels, not tracks, channels, which have plugins and which, you know, EQs, compressors, then other EQs, and, you know, where am I now? And then sends, okay. So, and then more as we go further right. Okay, so here we go. Keys and synth and sax and vocals. A lot of sends there. I'll probably have some on the guitar as well. But anyway, right? And then we get to 4 channels which have effects plugins. Very high quality effects, by the way. Only the best. Sound Toys, Lexicon, Convolution Reverb, boom, boom, boom. Okay. So, what I have done is, I've been doing this for years. Back when I used to run a HD system, a Pro Tools HD system, I came up with this setup for live multi-track recording. Okay. What I'm doing is essentially setting up the Pro Tools mixer like an old school split recording console. Okay. What do I mean by that? Well, before the 80s, before the appearance on the scene of the SSL 4000G series studio recording console, which was fucking revolutionary, right? It was really the first inline console. What that means is the difference between split and inline consoles is that the older school pre-SSL 4K series is that you would have the come here to me now. You fucker, you. Okay. You would have the input/record channels on the left-hand side of the console. All right. These were the mic amps, EQs, and the outputs of these channels would go to tape. And then you'd have your center section, usually. And then on the right-hand side of the center section, you would have your monitor section, or tape return section for making your monitor mixes, right? So these were separated. And then came the advent of the inline console, whereby one single physical channel strip on the console would contain both paths, both the record and the monitor path, which is fine. And yes, you can use your DAW software, your Pro Tools, your Cubase, whatever, in this inline mode, of course. But I learned, or I figured out, shall we say, that setting up your DAW, your Pro Tools, in the more old school split console fashion has some advantages. Okay? Now, what are they? Okay. Do you see these numbers? DLY, delay, plus minus, comp. Okay, so what this means is I have enabled displaying on each channel in Pro Tools the latency incurred by any processing and or routing, I'll come back to that in a moment, any delay on that channel or track. And the comp is the delay compensation applied by the DAW in order to keep it sample accurate in line with another channel or channels. Okay, this is very, very important when doing recording. Okay, very important. So the advantage of having this split old school console setup is that I can have my record tracks. Come here. Okay, these guys. All right. I can have them unaffected. No plugins on them, no sends into channels or to a bus, an effects send, nothing. These are just mic in, routed to a stereo fucking monitor out. In fact, I don't even have to route them to an output at all. I can just leave these completely unaffected by any delay compensation concerns whatsoever. Just into tape. Boom. And then I can essentially make duplicates as such of those recording tracks, which instead of audio tracks are just auxiliary channels, buses as such, and set them to the same inputs. Right? So mirror the inputs I'm sending to tape on these auxiliary channels and use those for all of the monitor mixing. Right? All of the monitor mixing. So I can have plugins on them, have sends on them, blah, 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 blah. And because I'm showing the delay and its compensation being applied, let's say I add a plugin onto a track and all of a sudden I see a change. Ooh, well, that affected not only itself, but some other tracks because they're routed either straight into a bus, say, the drum mics are all sent into the stereo drum bus where I have a compressor, or they have a send to an effects track or whatever. And so I can see in real time the delay and the compensation applied to all of these monitor tracks, right? Sorry, not monitor tracks, monitor channels, all right? So now if you look down here, right? Delay 0, plus minus 0. Compensation applied, 0, 0, 0, 0. Like that guy in Poland once famously said, I like my zeros, okay? So, go across 0, 0, 0, 0. Ooh, there's an orange. 64 samples of delay on that channel because of a convolution reverb. Okay, so the other 3 effects returns channels each have 32 samples of delay, and they each add 32 to align themselves in time, sample accurate with that one. Okay, so the 4 effects return channels are being delay compensated by Pro Tools. Okay, now you may notice that some of the compensations are in green and some are whited or grayed out. That's because I can disable the delay compensation on these monitor input channels, all right, so that 64 samples is not applied to them, all right, because I want them to go straight in and straight out at zero or as close to zero fucking latency as I can for the monitor mixes. And look, if the reverb effect or the echo boy delay effect is 64 samples delayed behind your actual guitar or keyboard or vocal or whatever input in your earphones, that's 64 samples on a purely FX return channel, totally fucking irrelevant. Doesn't matter because it's a time-based effect anyway, right? So I can make sure that all of the input monitoring channels that I'm mixing to give each individual musician drums, Mon 1 drums, Mon 2 bass, Mon 3 guitar, Mon 4 keys, Mon 5 sax, and Mon 6 vocal. Each of those stereo monitor mixes is going to each one of these headphones. All right? Headphone amplifiers. So I can ensure that the throughput into Pro Tools, out of Pro Tools, into your monitor mixer is essentially latency free. Okay? Yes, there are the samples added by the buffer, the necessary ASIO audio interface buffer, but this thing is running at a 64 sample buffer at 48K. That's like less than 1 millisecond, okay? I worked out, what was it? 0.33 or 0.66 milliseconds, okay? Fucking insignificant, right? So I can ensure and I can adjust, I'm able to tailor, keep an eye on and control latencies and impacts on latencies by sends, by plugins, all on the monitoring channels while leaving the record tracks completely unaffected, totally unaffected, all getting recorded in perfect time, second, sample synchronization. And I can adjust my mixes for the monitoring all over here. Boom, believe. This is the way to go. Yes, it's more cumbersome. Yes, there are more channels to manage. But once you get used to it, once you get your head around it, the benefits are huge. Because it's very easy in a DAW. It's very easy in a digital recording environment to, I won't say make a mistake, but miss something. I want to send a bit of that vocal or a bit of that guitar into a reverb send, and you click send and blah blah, away you go, or you add an EQ plugin here and there, and you don't realize that there are downstream or cascading effects on other channels which might have some routing in common, and then the DAW will apply delay compensation here, there, or whoever, or wherever, and you don't see it. So, very important to have your delays displayed per track. Keep an eye on them and set it up as a split recording console instead of inline. Right now I can see it all and manage my latencies, my delays, any issues, boom. I can see it straight away. And I can make these monitor mixes freely without having any impact whatsoever on the recording tracks themselves. They are essentially walled off, okay, from anything I do here. Boom. Fucking sweet. And I will say that this computer, this laptop here, has been pretty fucking good. I mean, here's your CPU usage. There are some occasional spikes up to like 70%, 80%. But look at that. Fucking rock solid. And this is recording onto the internal system C drive SSD. No external hard drives needed anymore. Back in the day, this was a no-no, big no-no, recording, multi-tracking onto your OS, Windows, C drive. Massive no-no. These days, with, PCIe Gen 4, Gen 5, or whatever, and fucking high-end SSDs, and the modern AMD fucking 8-core, 16-thread CPUs. Look at that. Look at that. She's tipping away. And this has been running for over 4 hours now. Non-stop record. Running. Fucking savage. Savage, man. Savage. Oh. Billy. Shazam! Oh, yeah.